Hello, welcome back to the ministry. This is Taj McCameron, and I wanted to do this word. The Lord dropped this on my spirit. This is actually a few weeks in the making because I saw the one scripture and then I saw part of another scripture, and then it was some other pieces that He gave me. And then last night He just tied it up in a perfect bow. And I just wanted to share what He showed me. So, what are we talking about? We are talking about the authority of the spirit of Jezebel and her desire to operate in domination over a person. She wants power. And her desire is to have a power position. And in her having a power position, she seeks out somebody that she can get power from. Meaning she is actually using her dominance and her position. She was the daughter of Baal, who was a high priest, and she went through covenants and sacrifices and all these demonic things in which she did in order to get her way. And it's kind of like, you ever see that bratty child in movies? And the Lord's just giving me this in this moment. You ever seen that bratty child in movies? The one that always needs to get her way. And if she doesn't get her way, she's calling her servant. She's calling somebody. I'm going to call somebody. Because one of y'all going to do what I said do. And she ain't no bigger than like a little 2-foot tall demon. But then that woman grows up to become, very voluptuous, and she uses her appeal to get what she wants from men, and what she wanted was Ahab's power. The Lord showed me this song, and I was like, really? Because the Lord began to show me Run the World Girls by you know who. But He only showed me this verse. My persuasion can build a nation, endless power. Our love we can devour. You'll do anything for me. Sound familiar? I thought it was just me. Next, He showed me, same artist, different song. They will never take my power. They'll never take my power. The Queen of Sheba came to Solomon because she wanted and was interested in his power. When the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels and bear spices and very much gold and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she continued with him in what was in her heart. Solomon She'd seen that Solomon's wisdom and the house he had built. Lord, you want me to bring that in here? The Lord is bringing my attention to the fact that some of your God-ordained spouses have power positions and have had power positions. They were positioned in high places, but they may not have been in the exact position that this individual was in. Maybe they were higher, maybe they are around mid-range, but they had some type of similar or similarity. Because remember, this person was a queen of Sheba. So some of these people had a power position and they were using what they had. And I'm going to tell you this. What it was a bribe. They bribed them with items. They bribed them with things. And some of them cursed those items. And 9 times out of 10, they were cursed if they were serving a different god when they came to them, when they led these men astray. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But the apparel, cutting boards, cupbearers, his ancients, whatever, he went up to the house of the Lord, and she said to the king, was true report and heard in mine land, and they acted in wisdom, howbeit and until they came to the eyes of what was, and told me that the wisdom of the prosperity is exceeding in the fame I have heard. So she was talking about his fame. So happy with this then thine servant, and bless the O Lord, O God, and in Israel. And the Lord loved Israel, and therefore made the king a just judgment. And she gave to the king 120 talents of gold and spices and various great stones and all of this, and more abundant spices to the king, and these of which Queen Sheba gave to the king, and in return he gave her everything. Now let's look at Samson fell for Delilah, and Delilah kept asking him the same questions. I'm not going to go over all of that. If you want to watch that, go to my word that I did on, I believe it's God Tested the Man or something like that. And it's a bunch of dark images of men in a dark place. It's about 6 parts to that word. But I also, if you understand what I'm saying about Queen Sheba, I need you to go to Adam and Eve restored to the garden, because I talk about that, as well as go to Samson, Hercules, and Jacob. I believe I wrote it like that, because I do some detailed, in-depth teaching on that. So constantly persuading Samson to get his weakness. None of these men were to marry foreign women. Remember, Samson's mother said that, well, actually it was Samson's father that said that he should not marry any of the, what did they call those? The pagan women? I believe that were residing in the city. It's like, don't go to those women. Queen of Sheba, look at what happened to Samson. Look at what happened to Solomon. Solomon, he ended up having hundreds of concubines, and he was led completely astray. So, what ended up happening is these men needed to come into a level of awareness of what it was that they were doing. Some of these men had no idea, because they weren't being led by spiritual common sense. They're saying, I should probably not get involved with this woman, even though she came and brought me. Some of your men, depending on who or what status they were, there were women that were bringing things to them, bringing them gifts, giving them things, and all of this kind of stuff. And they were looking at it like, oh, you improving me. Ooh, you're doing this. Look at the original context of the song Upgrade You. Giving them things. Showing them a new air or view of life. Giving them access to things. But that access came with a price. Because when they made the decision, if ever they wanted to leave, oh, you're going to have to give me that back. But remember when I gave you access to this? Remember when I did that? You remember when I... Remember? So these men ended up stuck in a weird cycle. And some of them, they couldn't help but do it because they came from situations and circumstances that occurred with their mothers. Because their mothers were that way. So because they saw their mama be that way. When they saw these women, and I did a word a while back where I talked about these elements of attachment, that when you have situations where there are individuals that are operating in the wrong space, the wrong heart posture, the wrong scenario, you end up with problems. You understand what I'm saying? Because the men don't understand. Well, I'm kind of used to seeing this because I saw it with my mama, my sister, my this, whatever. So they're perfect example. And you can go look for this. I did a review of the movie Why Did I Get Married? I did a breakdown of every couple in Why Did I Get Married? And if you really look at the breakdown of every couple, every single one of them women was a little bit narcissistic, just a little bit. Overpowering and controlling, just a little bit. Some were more prevalent, while others were more quiet. But go back and look at that if you're interested in finding out what I said. But the main point that I wanted to make was, if you remember Tasha's character, but remember how her husband was. Remember how he was always that kind of person that, like, they would look at him, even the men would be joking on him and be like, you don't realize your wife act like that? And he'd be like, what? It's Tuesday. Some of these men have been mentally brainwashed into believing it's okay for these women to treat them the way that they were. They had to come to an alertness to it, then forgive themselves, then release themselves from it, but understand that the spirit operating in them was a narcissistic spirit. In the female was not going to just let them go like that. Go back and look at the word that I released in relation to I believe it was the counterfeits. What was it? Almost 2 weeks ago. You know, it's the two women, and then there's a couple words after that. But go back and look at that, and there's a prayer in there. But you have to understand that these men had to make a choice. But this was what's the word I'm looking for, Lord? It was a very strategically placed attack against these individuals. And they had to make a choice to not want this thing. But the woman came in and she used her power. And I think I'm going to look this scripture up in I'm going to look it up right quick in MSG Ezekiel 6. Now, Everybody loves the word I did on the exaltment of the woman, but this is the other part of the scripture that I did not read. These women, once they became crowned, whatever power they were operating in, it was wrong. So what they ended up doing, let's see, this is what happened after the exaltation if you went in the wrong direction. And then you took all of the fine jewelry I gave you, my gold, my silver, and made it pornographic images and in them and your brothels. You decorated your bed with fashionable silks and cottons and perfumes with aromatics and incenses, and then you set out wonderful foods I provided, and fresh breads and fruits and fine herbs and spices. Didn't I just say that about Solomon? And fresh breads and fruits, fine herbs, spices, which were my gifts to you, and you served them as delicacies to your whole house. What happened, said God the Master, and then you took your sons, your daughters, in whom you gave birth, my children, and you killed them, sacrificed them to idols. Wasn't it bad enough that you had become a whore, and now you are a murderer, killing my children and sacrificing them to idols? Not once during these years of outrageous obsolescence and whoring did you remember your infancy, and you were naked and exposed, blood smeared and newborn. And then when, to top off all the evil acts, you built your bold brothels in every town square, doomed to you, says God the Master, as every major in section, you built your bold brothels and exposed your sluttish sex and spreading your legs. Everyone who passed by, and you went to international with your whoring and fornicating with Egyptians, seeking them out for sexual orgies and promiscuity. You became the anger, and God finally intervened, reducing your borders and turning you over to the rhapsodies of the enemy. Every Philistine woman, can you believe it, were shocked at your sluttish life. You went on to fornicate in Ashland, and your appetite was insatiable, and still you went out unsatisfied. You weren't satisfied. You took the Babylonians, the courts, the businessmen, still you weren't satisfied. What a sick soul doing this stuff, and the companion of a whore. You built your bold brothels in every major intersection, opening up your whorehouses in every neighborhood, but you were different from the regular whores in that you wouldn't accept a fee. Wives who are unfaithful to their husbands accept gifts from their lovers, and men commonly pay their whores, but you paid your lovers. You bribed men, all others coming to bed with you. You just opposed them. Regular whores get paid for sex. Instead, you paid men with their favors. You entered perverted whoredom. Therefore, whore, listen to God's message. I, God the Master, say, because you've been unrestrained in your promiscuity, stripped down for every lover, flaunted your sex, and became pornographic idols, and slaughtered children and offered them. Therefore, because of all of this, I'm going to give you to your lovers together. All those you and your own pleasures and your own loved ones, and loathed, and assembled with them in the courtroom of spectators, and around you, bordering in the daylight. I'll strip you naked before them, and they'll see what you really look like. Then I'll sentence you to a punishment of an adulterous woman and a murderous woman. I'll give you a taste of my wrath. Are you hearing me? So, with that being said, this is what happened. This is the type of woman that distracted your God-ordained spouse. Why? Because it was a bigger plot. I'm going to need for you to go to Numbers 22 and read Numbers 22 through 24. I ain't got enough space to sit here and read that entire scripture. Do some research and read through it, but I'm going to give you a condensed version. There was a man, there were groupings of people that desired to curse the blessed children. And because they were blessed, they desired to curse them. They went to a sorcerer, and the sorcerer, this is about Balaam and Balak. They went to the sorcerer, and the sorcerer was saying, I can't curse them. They kept going back and forth to God, back and forth to God. It went back and forth about 7 times. Now, this Balak person, I think it was Balak or Balaam, went and he had 7 altars that were associated to their foreign gods, right? But they couldn't curse the person of God. Why could they not curse the person of God? Because of the fact that they had to lure the person of God into a level of sin in order to penetrate the blessing that was on that person. Some of your God-ordained spouses were lured into rebellion just to take their blessings. Am I making sense to anybody? So in them making that decision, they had to make a choice. Which brings me to scripture in Ezra. Ezra 10 that states, I gotta go back up. Now, when Ezra had prayed, and when he had confessed, weeping and casting himself down before the house of God, they were assembled unto him in Israel, very great congregation of men, women, and children, for the people wept very sore, and Shekinah, the son of Jezebel, and one of the sons of Elma, and answered and said to Ezra, as they trespass against our God, have taken strange wives of people of the land, and ye now their hope of Israel concerning these things. Now therefore let us make a covenant with our God, and put all the wives and such as are born of them, meaning the children born of them, according to the counsel of the Lord, and those that tremble and command that God let it be done according to the law, arise in the matter belonging unto thee. We also will be with thee and good courage and do it. Basically stating that these men had to release the foreign wives and spiritual children, physical children that were not of God's will. With that being said, they had to come into the understanding and release the shame of what they had done. And this is what some of your God-ordained spouses have been caught up in, the shame of what was done when they were with these women. And they've been going back and forth with that shame. With that being said, the Lord showed me last night, and I was literally writing this word. This is how I know God is on time with stuff. As I was writing this word, the Lord showed me that It was an episode of a show I used to watch, the show Buffy I always talk about. In it, the man that used to be her king, I call him the Kingdom Spouse's character, he had just come back from hell. And he'd been there 100 years. Okay? Which only in human time was 3 months. When he came back, he had what was it? He did not have a sense of himself anymore. He could not digest reality. So because he couldn't digest reality, he was still dealing with the residual pain and discomfort that he had previously dealt with. And because of the pain and discomfort that he had previously dealt with, he was dealing with mental and emotional things. He couldn't even speak when he first came back. When she realized he was there, because she saw him, she caught him, and she put him, she chained him back up in his house. For some of you, a God ordained spouse, the reason he could not come, 334 means shut up and bound. This man could not come to you because God had them shut up and bound because they were still dealing with the trauma of what had happened. Okay? He couldn't speak. He was unable to make a coherent word out his mouth. Okay? And she came back to visit him in the middle of the episode because she literally was trying to start a new relationship. Some of y'all, when God said, that's your God ordained spouse, and he was acting a darn fool, you started entertaining other people. That's what you did. Tell the truth and shame the devil. You started entertaining other people. But she still had this man that she was standing for. Think of it as her standing for this man. She came to visit him and he was chained to the wall. He's curled up, chained and bound. And in him being curled up, chained and bound, he's still trying to find himself mentally. He's not even mentally able to find or coherently put together words. He's growling. That's all he's doing. That's all he's doing. And she's trying to talk to him. She's standing there like, oh my God, what can I do to help you? But she can't because he can't speak. And that's some of us. We spiritually have been like, what can I do to help you? And they're bound up. They're chained to the wall. They could not speak because they were still dealing with what I just said. So with that being said, in the final scene, there was a situation that occurred that put this woman in danger. And she was trying to break up a domestic violence situation with another man that had a different kind of Jekyll and Hyde spirit on him, which pretty much is the spirit of Leviathan. And potentially an octopus spirit. Yeah. Look that up. Okay. I'm still determining how I'm going to put these prayers because I think I'm going to start putting the prayers in the community post. Wait, it's coming. So she was trying to figure out, she was fighting. Some of y'all have been in the spirit and you've been fighting, and you've been fighting, right? And with your fight, you've been waiting on rescue, right? Though, and some have been hearing this, right? A lot of us have been hearing, he's going to come to you anyway. Some of your God-ordained spouses, though they don't understand what is going on, they've been spiritually being talked to by the Lord. They've been trying to come out of this fog the octopus spirit had put them under and trying to get back to themselves. But you were the voice, you were the prayers, you were the thing that kept them in peace amongst themselves, even in that dark place, right? So when this fight occurred between her and this guy, She gets knocked to the ground, and here he comes. Her angel to the rescue, her guardian. He comes busting through the door. He sees. He's still unable to speak yet. He grabs the guy that was trying to hurt her, and he grabs him with the chains that are still on his arms. Hear me what I'm saying? And snaps his neck. Then he walks over to her. She's standing there, don't know what he's going to do because she knew that he was still dealing with some viciousness in him. And she was like, I don't know what, because she knew he came back from hell. And she's looking at him like, oh my God, what are you going to do? All he did, and I don't know why I'm getting emotional here. All he did was he turned and he said her name. He called her by name. This is the first words he ever spoke since he had been back, was her name. And she looked at him and called his name. And he fell to his knees before her and started crying. He was holding on to her like she was the last hope in his life. These men have been through hell and back to get to you. And I'm going to do you one better because I think I can find the scene on YouTube. If I can find it, I'm going to link it in the caption of this so you can see it for yourself. They went through hell getting through all of that mess. Now, these men are willing to do anything for you. Anything. I want you to go and watch Trust and Obedience Ministries' Word, Not Guilty. Because she does a review of a song in that. And I think you need to hear it. I'm about to do a song review next. But I was surprised I was able to finish all this. But if you can go through all of that. Lastly, what else did I need? I guess I'm not supposed to do that in this word because the final scripture I had for you guys was Deuteronomy 11. And I don't think I got enough time in this video to do it. Because it's a warning, but it's not necessarily part of this word. So I'm going to come back with that. So I'll be back. Until next time, bye-bye.